Today we're going to go ahead and look at how to create a solid model in SketchUp for schools using what we call the additive method. Your additive method is basically where we are going to go ahead and take layers of material and build them up in order to create a solid object. So we're going to be actually starting with zero material on our workspace, and we'll be working from the ground up. This method is often used with 3D printing or any type of rapid prototyping. The requirements for this tutorial is that we're going to make sure that our solid shape has the correct dimensions, that we give it some sort of color, and that we also attach our screenshot of our work that is completed. So taking a look at what we call our work envelope here, what you'll notice is that we have a multi-view drawing of different dimensions for our solid shape. In the bottom left-hand corner, you're going to see that we have our front view, which is giving us all of our width dimensions. So you can see that we have a width of each block is really going to be about 3/4 of an inch, and our overall width is sitting at 1.5 inches. In the upper left-hand corner, we can see that our overall depth of our shape is registering at 2.25 inches. And then again in the bottom right-hand corner, you have a height dimension, which is giving us our right side view, and that's giving us a height of 1.5 inches. We're going to be using this multi-view drawing to help us go ahead and build our shape. In order to do this, we are going to be using our software called SketchUp for Schools. This is an online version of SketchUp. You can also go ahead and download the hardware to your computer if you do choose so. For now, we're just simply going to go ahead and use the online version. So one of the first things we're going to need to do is go to our edu.sketchup.com app, and then from there, we're going to go ahead and select Start Modeling. Once you get into SketchUp for Schools, you're going to notice that we have our little model here. Bob is basically using a size reference so that when we do start creating our shapes, we can actually see the relationship. We can get rid of him at a later time. For right now, we need to go ahead and make sure that we name and save our file. So go ahead up to that untitled block there and go ahead and give it a name. And we're just going to go ahead and call this Additive Method Example. Once you go ahead and give it a name, select OK, and from here we're going to need to select where we want to save it. I'm going to be saving mine to my Google Drive, and I'm simply going to go ahead and find where I'd like to put this. I'm going to put it into my Google Classroom for right now, and I'm going to go ahead and select OK. Once you select that, you're going to notice that there's going to be a name up there, Additive Method Example, and it's telling me that it is saved. So this will save periodically for you as we move on. On the left-hand side, you have several different tools, and when you click on those tools, you're going to notice that some of them have arrows to the right. That's going to give you multiple options for each tool. So we'll be looking at a few different tools going through our additive method. There are shortcuts that you can use as well to get to some of these tools. On the right-hand side, we also have some palettes, and that's going to help us to change our view around a little bit and see some different things that we normally wouldn't. So one of the first things we're going to need to do is we're going to go ahead and create basically the top view of our shape. So taking a look at our top view, you're going to see that we're going to go ahead and create this shape right here. And what we're looking at doing is giving that left line a dimension of 2.25 inches, and then from there we'll go ahead and create the rest. Easy reference here is that each block that you see is 3/4 of an inch. So going into SketchUp, we want to create a top-down approach. So going over to our tools toolbar over here, we can select View, and from there we're going to click the top of the house. Now we're going to be looking straight down. Now we're going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit, and you can do that by using the mouse wheel on your mouse, or you can also use your orbit tool down here. We have a view where we could zoom to extents or zoom the window, or go ahead and use our regular zoom tool. Now going from there, we're going to go ahead and grab what we call the line tool. So find that line tool and select the straight line up at the top. Now that you have your tool, we need to go ahead and select its starting point. We're going to go ahead and select the origin and simply left click. Once you left click, it's going to attach that line, and it's asking for us to create an endpoint. We're going to go straight up on that green axis. We're not going to worry about clicking at this time. We're just going to drag and make sure that that line is straight. Once that line is straight, before we do anything, in the bottom right-hand corner, you're going to notice that you have this length box. We don't need to click in that. We just simply need to type what we want that length to be. So again, I'm going to make sure that that line is straight, and then I'm going to go ahead and type in my dimension of 2.25. It will automatically default to inches for you. Once you select enter, it'll lock that line in place, and you can see that it's waiting for me to place my next line. Now I'm going to go ahead and at this time I'm going to go back to my move tool or my select tool. I'm going to go ahead and select Bob and simply hit delete. I don't need him anymore. Now I can go ahead to my orbit and select zoom extents, and what that will do is bring that line into view. If it's a little bit too close for you, just simply zoom out a little bit and give yourself a little room to work. Now that we have that left line that we've just created, what we're going to need to do is go over to the right. We'll go down over to the right, and we're going to follow that pattern there. So I'm going to go back to my line tool. I'm going to make sure I click the end point of that line and click again. Make sure you go straight out to the right, and we're going to give that a dimension of 3/4 of an inch or 0.75. Once you type in your dimension, go ahead and hit enter. And then we're going to continue by going down. Notice that I'm on the green axis. That's making sure that we have a perpendicular line. And I'll go ahead and add 0.75 again. From there, we'll go off to the right, add another 0.75, and select enter. Here, we'll go down again on that green axis, another 0.75, and then we'll go back to the left. Keep up with your 0.75 and select enter. Let's go ahead down to that red line. And notice that if it says 3/4 of an inch, you can simply go ahead and click as well. Let's go back to the original origin, and by doing that, you're going to notice that we've created a closed shape. Now, if we look back at our original drawing, you're going to notice that we also have an additional line going through here. So we are going to need to go ahead up and create that line from that endpoint straight across. And now what we've created are two different parts that we can actually work with. Let's go ahead and put our tool down by hitting the select tool, and we're going to go and select our house in the bottom right hand corner. That's going to put us into an isometric view. From right now, what we basically have is a two-dimensional shape. The next part of this is giving it a little bit of height. So we're going to go ahead and look at that first part, which is this little L shape, and we're going to go ahead and raise that up 3/4 of an inch. You're going to notice that that back pillar there is being raised 1.5 inches. So let's go ahead and use a tool called the push-pull. We can do that by finding our push-pull on our toolbar, select the top one, which is your push-pull, and select the profile. Notice that only that L shape is being grayed out there, and that's the only part when we click and move our mouse up is going to actually rise up and down. We're going to go ahead and move it up, but without clicking, we're going to go ahead and type in our dimension of 0.75 and select enter. Now from there, we're going to go ahead and rotate our shape. Select another corner of your house, and you're going to notice here that that back portion is still two-dimensional. Go ahead and click on that, and we're going to rise that up, but it's only going to go up as high as that first part. That's fine. What we're going to do is go ahead and click to make sure that this is what we call on face. You can also simply go ahead and type in your dimension of 0.75. Now that we've gone ahead and raised that up 3/4 of an inch, we can now go ahead and click on that again and bring it up an additional 0.75 inches. Now you have created your three-dimensional shape. The next part of this is being able to give this a little bit of color. We're going to go ahead and hit our select tool, and we're going to go take a look at our original drawing, and you can see that we have everything is correct. If you're unsure about a dimension, you can go ahead and grab this little measuring tape. That measuring tape will allow you to click on an endpoint to endpoint, and what you will notice is it will give you that dimension. So again, if we click and go up to the top here, you're going to see that it tells us it's 1.5 inches, and that's what we need. Now in order to give this a little bit of color, what we're going to do is hit that select tool, and we're going to go ahead and do a triple click on our shape. That will highlight the entire shape for us. We can then go ahead over to our paint bucket, grab your paint bucket, and then from there we can select a color. Now we are limited with the amount of colors we can select, but there is a way that we can change that. Instead of clicking on that house, which is your in model, we're going to go ahead and browse. Once you go ahead and browse, we're going to scroll down to the colors category, and from here you have several different colors that you can select. So go ahead and find the color of your choosing, select that color, and simply go ahead and click on the shape. Once you're done, go ahead and put that tool down by hitting the select button. The last part of our assignment here is to go ahead and close out that toolbar on the right hand side by clicking that close panel. And from here we can go ahead and rotate our shape and take a look at it. And here you have your first shape created using the additive method.